Hello friends, welcome to the third part of the best games of William Steinitz series. Our today's topic of discussion is going to be very interesting because we are going to talk about William Steinitz Gambit. Yes, in that era, William Steinitz invented an ultra sharp opening. This opening was the mixture of old school as well as the new school. We know this thing that in old school people used to keep their kings in the center and they used to attack, and in the new school that process was a little bit different, that people used to play with all their pieces. And William Steinitz put forward one very original thesis that if necessary precautions are taken, then the king can defend itself. Yes, and he always tried to prove this point in his games, and one game stood apart from everything. That game we are going to see today, that game was played against Paulsen, the leading player of that era. We know this thing that Paulsen played amazing matches against Morphy, Anderson, all such players. So this game is very important to prove the theory behind this gambit. So without further ado, let's get started with the game and try to understand what is this gambit all about. So the game which we are going to see was played in Baden, 1870, when William Steinitz was white, his opponent Paulsen was black. They started with e4, e5, and then knight to the c3. Here black played knight to the c6, and now as usual at that time, William Steinitz opened with f4 move, and after e into f4, well, the standard move was to play knight to the f3 until now, but William Steinitz was very brave. Well, why knight of 3 is played? Because white wants to stop this check on f4, but William Steinitz decided to play in a very original way. He played d4 in this position, inviting black to play queen h4. Well, what's going on? We'll figure it out. Queen h4 check, and now he played king to the e2. Really, yes, king to the e2. Now this king is there in the path of this bishop, plus this queen is also blocked. What is really happening? Well, his thought process was like this. William Steinitz understood that this temporary inconvenience is not that much great, because what white has achieved in this position is like he already has the center control with his pawns and pieces, and next he is going to attack this queen on h4 with the knight, and his pieces will also be developed in that process. And with the shield which is having in front of his king, that is e4 and d4 pawn, his king is actually very safe, and gradually he will move this king to a safe zone and he will be much more ahead in the development, and we will see what really happened. And one more thing was also there, that at that time his opponents were not that much equipped with all the tools to fade off this gambit. But Morphy once said that this gambit is a little bit bad, but Morphy never really played chess at that time, and he gave away the open path for William Steinitz to prove his new principles, and thanks to him that we know this gambit at this time. Well, black played d6. Instead of d6, black can even go for d5 in that position, but d6 will stick to the game. Here white played knight to the f3, attacking the queen, and black played bishop to the g4, pinning this knight on f3. Well, what to do? Yes, take the pawn on f4. This is very important. The pawn on f4 needs to be taken. So black played castles in this position on the queen side. But if you think about this position, that white's king is in the center, and if you understand, okay, we need to do something in this position, then black should play f5 in this position, trying to create some counterplay against white's king. But black played long castle. That is also possible in this position. And now when I was first time looking at this game, I was a little bit surprised by white's move. Can you guess the move from white's side? Well, he played king to the e3, and I was saying, are you kidding me? Really? King e3, playing king here? Who plays like this? King e2, king e3. But there is some idea behind this move. First of all, you can see that this bishop on f1 is opening up, right? And now these pawns are already there on e4 and d4. So the king is not that much unsafe, because we still have this shield with this bishop. This knight is also there, and this knight is also there. So even though the king is in the center of the board, still it is safe. And as Steinitz already stated, that if necessary precautions are taken, then king can defend itself. and after this king to the e3. Still black should play f5 in this position, but let's suppose now another threat is like we are capturing the queen on h4. So black played bishop into f3 in this position. If it plays like bishop into f3, then we can play queen into f3, then black can play f5, but still d5, knight e7, and king to the d2, and white's king will be safe because we are going to play this move and the king will be safe on c1 square. Well, in the game there was a little bit difference. In the game black played queen to the h5 and he kept this knight pinned here because still the queen on d1 is there, and here white played bishop to the e2, and finally black decided to move this queen from this king side where white was constantly attacking this queen to the queen side. But on the queen side also the queen is not going to be safe because Steinitz plays one very interesting move, that is a3. His idea is to play b4 and then maybe if he get chance to he will play b5 because black's king is already there on the queen side, and again the queen is finding a very uncomfortable position on the queen side. Okay, then finally he decided to play bishop into f3. Again you can guess the move, as we know this thing that Steinitz is a very bold player. He did not play bishop into f3, he did not even play g into f3, he played king into f3, not at all fearing any kind of checks. Well, he is asking his opponent to play queen to the h5 check, and that's what Paulsen also played, queen h5 check, and after that king to the e3 or f2, two options are there. He played king to the e3, again keeping the king in the center of the board. Well, black played queen to the h4, and now what to do? Well, we can say that okay, white is still safe in this position, but now he understands that the king is completely safe and he needs to create his own counterplay against black's king. That's why he started with b4, his own pawn storm on the queen side. His idea is very clear. He wants to push his pawns because he has this rook, this queen can also join the game, this knight is also there, this bishop is also there. So it's kind of okay position for him. Okay, black started with g5. He also started his attack on the king side. Then bishop to the g3, the queen went to the h6 square, and now William Steinitz played b5. The knight went to the e7 square, and now it's time to get back with your king into a safe zone. Well, center is also a safe zone, but now black's pieces are coming out, right? So William Steinitz played rook to the f1, then knight to the f6, and now it's time to go into the den. The lion who was there in the center of the board, now he is going into his den because it's time for the safety now. Now black played knight to the g6 and finally king to the g1, and the king is very safe in the, you can say, normal circumstances. But if you look at the position, then bishop is on e2 is well placed, this bishop on g3 is well placed, the rook is also well placed here on this diagonal file, and the knight is also there. The pawns are ready to be pushed forward. The queen can always join the attack with queen to the b1, and in all, you can say all white's pieces are playing some kind of a role in the position. But if you look at the black back's pieces, the queen on h6 looks a little bit sad, you know. The queen is such a powerful piece, but it is stranded on the one side of the board. Look at this rook on h8, the bishop on f8. Okay, the knights are at least okay on g6 and f6, but these pieces on the king side are really poorly placed. They are not even well coordinated in this position. Okay, black played queen to the g7 because the knight on f6 was hanging. White played queen to the d2, attacking the pawn on g5. Black played h6, and now what to do? Yes, we should expand on the queen side. We played a4, black played rook to the g8, and now what will you do? Well, this was a very interesting position, and I will tell you, like, if you pay attention to this position, then you will realize that white needs to break through in this position, and William Steinitz was right in this position. He played b6, completely like trying to open up the position of black's king, and after a into b6 he played one amazing exchange sacrifice in this position, because if you see in this position, the knight on f6 is actually covering two important squares. One square is d5 and another important square is the g4 square. If this knight is not there on the board, then white can jump with the knight to the d5, even bishop can come to the g4 square, and the bishop will be very active on this h3 to c8 diagonal. So it's very logical to play rook into f6, and he plays that move. After queen into f6, white plays bishop to the g4 check, king to the b8, and now it's time to bring the knight in the center, and suddenly this queen, which was already poor piece, is not having any good squares. He played queen to the g7, and now we can say that these pieces are going to be just spectators in the game, and white played a4, further trying to open up the position, and black is just helpless in this position. Well, in the game he tried to play in a desperate way by playing f5, but let's suppose if he plays something else, what really happens? Knight e7 is also one of the options in this position, but white will get the upper hand after a into b6, and there if knight into d5 is played, can you spot out a checkmate in this position? Well, yes, rook to the a8 check, king into a8, and now queen a5 check, king to the b8, and queen a7 is a check and mate. So black is not at all in a comfortable position. We can simply say like this. And let's suppose if we play b5, not to try, like not to open up the position, but still it will not help black, because we can play a6. If b6 is played, then we can play a7, king to the b7, and now a tactical shot, that is knight into c7. If king into c7, then we can play queen c3 check. If king b7, then another silent move, because we can see that this pawn is already queening, and this rook is the only piece which is protecting the square. We can play a very brilliant move, that is bishop to the d7, because now rook cannot capture because a8 queen is there, and we are even threatening queen to the c6 check and mate. So black is almost lost. So he plays f5 in the position to block this bishop, but well, here it doesn't really help, because we can play a into b6, c into b6, and simply knight into b6, and black is not having any chance to capture the bishop on g4. And Steinitz was very sharp in the tactical play also. Let's suppose if he captures the bishop on g4, what really happens? We can start with our trademark rook to the a8 check, king to the c7, and now white can give queen c3 check, king into b6, and now queen a5 check, king to the c6, and d5 is a check and mate on the next move. After king d7, queen into d8 is a checkmate. So we can say that Steinitz was playing in a very beautiful style, like the way he used to play in his earlier years, completely tactical. Well, after knight into b6, knight e7 was played in the game, and after e into f5, black played queen to the f7, and now f6, opening up the bishop on g4. Black played knight to the c6, and Steinitz was not in any kind of hurry. He just plays c4 in this position, simply going forward with his pawns, slow and steady. Black tried to defend the position with knight to the a7, but okay, that is not going to defend, because white has simple move queen to the a2, and now black plays another desperate move. He plays knight to the b5, hoping that Steinitz might play c into b5 and he will get to exchange the queens in this position. But okay, Steinitz is not going to play anything like that. He plays a very nice move. He plays knight to the d5, threatening queen to the a8 check and mate. And here, okay, black played on for few moves, but this is already a lost position for black. He plays queen into d5, and after c into d5, knight into d5, the game got over after queen a7 check, king to the c7, rook to the c1 check, knight to the c6, and the final beautiful move, that is rook into c6 check, because this pawn on b7 is pinned, and it's checkmate because this bishop is controlling this diagonal. So in all, this game was so beautiful. I really like the way he played in the opening, because opening moves were like 18 moves. In first 18 moves, Steinitz played 6 moves with his king, and that is something which you can show the bold character of Steinitz. I hope you enjoyed this game, and you will share this game with your friends also. If you are not subscribed to my channel, do subscribe, because we are going to see some beautiful games of Steinitz and other good players also. Stay tuned with me. Thank you for watching the video. Goodbye.